All right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another day of SaberSim's DFS office hours. It is Monday, November 7th of 2022. Got a crazy 15-game NBA slate on tap tonight. Games are going to be starting every 15 minutes. Gonna be crazy if news is constantly breaking. Can't wait for it myself. Hope you all had a very good weekend. Hope you had a profitable main slate. If you didn't, I'm right on that bus as well, but it is okay. Right back at it tonight. Got an NFL showdown to go along to cap off NFL Week 9. If you are new here, welcome. This is a show where we go over how to use the SaberSim app, answer any and all DFS related questions. Questions come in the office hours channel in our Discord server. If you're not a member of our Discord, there is a link in the description below to get joined up. Highly recommend it. A lot of great DFS conversation happening all the time in the Discord. And if you have questions now that you want to get answered just right off the top of your head, throw them in the YouTube chat. We will get to all of the YouTube questions after getting to the Discord questions. But with that being said, we're going to get it kicked off here with the winners of our weekly max challenge. If you are not aware of what our weekly max challenge is, you are missing out. I will tell you that. So let me get the max challenge pulled up here. And this is our weekly max challenge giveaway. We've been running since the beginning of the NFL season, giving away awesome prizes each and every week. We've given away 3 championship belts because 3 people have won the mini max contest. If you want to get in on the action, the rules are right down here at the bottom. You know, max out the mini max, wear a SaberSim avatar, fill out our form, and that's it. You're going to be eligible for all of these awesome prizes giving away all season. So with that being said, I want to announce the winner for this week. The highest scorer who took a 6th place in the large mini max is Divine Glory. So congratulations, Divine Glory. Score of 256.22 points. Awesome finish. Really great job. You're going to be getting 1 free month of SaberSim standard SaberSim t-shirt and an entry into our end of the season $5,000 free roll. So congratulations there. We're going to hop over to our trusty wheel of names and select the one lucky winner who gets free entry into next week's mini max. So before the stream, I grabbed all the names from the list that Jordan updated this morning. If you want to check to make sure your name is in here, I included it with the stream link prior to the show. So in the office hours channel, there's a shared Google file and you can click and make sure your name is on here. Had 140 people max enter the mini max. Awesome to see. We're just continuing with just about the same amount of traction as always. So glad people are continuing to play. Must mean people are exercising good bankroll dynamics and ultimately doing well. So I'm going to hit shuffle here a couple times. Going to get the names moved around and we are going to spin. This is for free entry to next week's mini max. And it looks like the winner will be 2203. Congratulations, Benny. Our team will reach out to you and shoot you an email letting you know you have won. Congratulations to Divine Glory for the strong finish, and hopefully everyone continues to participate and we keep going with our strong giveaway. But happy to see everyone's having a good time with it. Every time it comes up in the chat, seems like people are enjoying it overall. But that being said, we're going to jump into today's questions. Got a good amount of questions lined up for us that came in over the weekend. If you have any more questions, get them in now. Keep the stream going. But with that said, so let's say, hold on, got a question here from Cashman 51. Gotta get this one in the chat. So in the Discord, Cashman said, Andrew, you are a proponent for skipping the first game on an NBA slate. Not sure what you mean there. what am I skipping? So you let me know what I'm skipping. I don't ever miss a game or a slate for that matter. Maybe some showdowns if they run, the early showdown. I think like they had the 76ers one last week. But no, I'm not one for skipping many slates or games for that matter. So all right, gonna scroll back here. Had a quick question from JDS Dog just about the plan upgrades here. So JDS Dog said, with the new tier of SaberSim, will the winner's circle credit still just be for the advanced tier? Related, is there a way to pay the difference for pro if you have advanced tier from winner's circle rewards? So what JDS Dog is referring to, this is just a good time to plug this. So this weekend we released SaberSim Pro. If you go over to my account, you're going to see two options. The previous advanced plan is now called standard, and the new plan that we released is SaberSim Pro. This allows you to build up to 5,000 lineups, upload custom data, projections, ownership, save and aggregate projection sources, and create your own lineup ranking metrics. We are going to be doing a show on Wednesday at this time slot. Going to have Matt, the founder of SaberSim, on to talk about all of these awesome features. Might have Andy on as well, TBD there, but we're going to be doing like a pro plan and min unique kind of combo demo show on Wednesday at this time slot. So be prepared for that. Bring all of your pro plan questions. If you guys have pro plan questions, I will like track those separately and keep those on the list for them to answer. To answer JDS Dog's question, whatever plan you're on is what you'll get credit for. So you upload your win to Twitter, tag us. The win meets all of the rules in the winner's circle platform. We will check whatever plan you're on and credit you for that. The credit is not like a any credit you have for like the previous standard will just be applied to the SaberSim Pro when your bill comes around for the month. So any more questions there, you can just shoot a quick email to support@sabersim.com and they'll be able to explain it a little better to you. But whatever plan you're on, that's what you'll get credit for going forward there. So that being said, going to hit this next question from WMFKAF in the chat. And it looks like this is more of a feature request, but I just wanted to touch on this because this is one that does come in often. Said, I have a question on lineup builds for 150 max. Is there a way some to construct a build to enter that has 50 lineups that have a 3 running back build, 50 lineups with no tight end in flex, 25 lineups with only tight end in flex, and 25 lineups with any position in the flex? I noticed that you can't just fill partial lineups in a contest, or at least I haven't figured out how yet. Okay, so this is a common request. It is something that is on the log to be built in the future. We just released a pro plan with a lot of awesome features there. So that was a big one for us. This is a very common request that comes in, like, can I run 3 different builds, build 50 lineups in each of them, and then combine the 50 entries and put those into 150 max contest? It is something on our radar. It is something that comes in a lot. So something we want to build into the app in the near future. I would say if you want to do this at the moment, what you would have to do is you would have to run 3 separate builds. So, let's just say that I want to do 50 lineups from this build. So I make my adjustments. I do my lineups. Maybe this one is like this one's for NBA, but let's imagine it's for NFL. We'll just say no tight end in flex. You go ahead, you name these, you save the file. So what you'll have to do is you hit this green download lineups over here on the right. This is going to bring up just like a regular Excel file, and I'll show this for everybody. So 1 second here while I get this up. So this is what it's going to show. It's just like the positions and the player IDs. So what you would have to do is you would have to take your blank CSV with no lineups and then just like copy and paste these fields, these lineups into the CSV for like the first 50 entries. And then you would go back to SaberSim and then you would run your next build with where you allow tight end in the flex and copy those over. So like if you are really like set on doing that approach, you cannot do it from the fill entries, the entry editor at the moment. You would have to like manually take your lineup file and then drag those into your CSV and then upload it. And then once you're done with that, you can like go into DraftKings and then re-download the slate file, and then it will have all of your entries, which you could use to late swap, etc. But you still won't know which ones are which. So if you want to do it, that is how you do it for the moment. It is a workaround, but it is a way to allow you to accomplish what you were trying to do. So just wanted to walk through that for anybody listening. I know that it is something that a lot of people have requested. So that being said, going to touch on this question here from R. Rice. I don't have a great answer to this, but just want to touch on it because I think it's something that is worth talking about. So R. Rice said this new build speed is impressive. Interested to know what you all did to improve it. Maybe code optimization of the query / lineup generator, or assuming you're using a cloud provider, purchase of more computing power. Did anything have to be sacrificed, like lineup diversification or server load maxing out more often in the name of speed? If it's talked about on Behind the Sims or in a video somewhere, feel free to point me there. I did not mean to ask this question right when you had an issue with lineup generations. Okay, so all right, to be honest, I'm more on like the content side of the company. I don't know what happens on the back end. What I can say is that, the lineup build speed improvements that we've made have been like an awesome innovation and something that the team worked really, really hard on. So, if you have a question like this, I would ask it on Wednesday when Matt is on. Not sure how much detail he's going to want to go into there, just because we feel like some of the things that we've been building are really groundbreaking and we're treating them more as trade secrets. But this is outside of my area of expertise. Feel free to ask on Wednesday and Matt can disclose as much information as he sees fit. So going to keep moving here. Looks like we had some back and forth about the previous question with building multiple builds and inserting them into one build. So it looks like our next actual question here is from Nipsey. And Nipsey said, hey, Andrew, I know SaberScore accounts for some of this, but can you show how you would set up the sorter in the pro plan to give you the highest projected, lowest owned set of lineups? What exactly do the weights mean? Okay, so I think this is like a really awesome demo for one of the pro plan features. So what Nipsey is referring to is the new lineup sorting metrics. So we added these percentiles. We added these to both the standard and the pro plan. And then the one in question is this add metric. So this is basically like a custom lineup metric. You can take different aspects of a lineup. You could take different stats and you can apply them and create your own lineup metric, which is like really cool. And to be honest, there's not really a right answer or, this is like really, really new. And it's going to be hard for me to definitively say like if something is good or not, just a disclaimer. But, going back to the question. So, let's talk about a lineup where we're weighting projection and weighting low ownership. So the way I would do that is I would say, first thing, because you want to use two variables here. So my projection, I would say some, or no, I wouldn't even use my projection. I would use a percentile. So I would like lineup percentile, maybe 95th, and I'm going to rank that and I'm going to rank it ascending. So I want my lineup percentile of 95th percentile. I want to use a rank and I want to use it ascending with like the highest 95th at the top, and then I'm going to do a second variable where I'm going to use like my ownership. Maybe I'm using geomean, maybe I'm using sum. I'm just going to use sum for the sake of this example, and then I'm going to do that rank descending. So it's a combination of the two, and then this weight, right? So what you can do is you kind of have to standardize it like yourself. So maybe I want percentile weighted 3 times as much as ownership. So then I could add like a weight of 3 and then a weight of 1 to own. Maybe I want to use this like up to 1. So I can make this like 0.75 and I can make this 0.25. These are just like some ways off the top of my head that I think you can use these features to kind of come up with what you're talking about. But what you're basically going to have to do is probably play around with this, uh, put in different values, put in different combinations. Maybe you don't want to use 95th percentile. Maybe you want to use like just my projection. Maybe you want to use a different percentile. Maybe you don't want to use some ownership. You know, you want to use geomean. I think this is a great question for Wednesday when Matt comes on. So I will note this question down, Nipsey, and keep it on a log for Wednesday's questions. But you know, this example is like probably something close to what you might want to try as your first go around, and then kind of build from there. Maybe go a different direction, maybe build on top of that, maybe change some of these values. So I would use something close to this to kind of start heading in the direction you're talking about weighing like higher projected higher upside lineups with like a almost like a lower weighted ownership. So these are my thoughts there. Let me know if you have any follow up, and then I hope you are able to tune in live to Wednesday's stream. So okay, gonna hit this next question here from Phantom, and Phantom said, might be somewhat of a newbie question, but let's say for 20 lineups, I set min unique to 3 and then sort to 85th percentile. So then I'm getting the best 20 lineups according to the 85th percentile with at least 3 players different in every lineup. Is that accurate? Yes, Phantom, that is a perfect explanation and exactly how you should think about it. So one, you're sorting based on 85th percentile, which is ranking the lineups in and of itself. And then you're saying, I want all of my lineups to have at least 3 players that are different from every other lineup in that range. So in that like portfolio of lineups. So, you know, you're getting inner lineup diversification, decreasing the correlation there. That way, if your some lineups do bad, then, you know, the whole ship's not going down. So that's kind of the point of that. And then you're also getting the percentile rank there. And we could see, you know, how far down in your pool you have to go to accomplish that. You know, we're at lineup 168 out of 2000 in this instance, still in the top 10% of our pool. And, you know, getting that like natural diversification is always awesome to see there. So gonna scroll down here. Got a question from it looks like we have a follow-up here from Nipsey. Going to hit this follow-up before hitting the next question from John in the Discord. So Nipsey said, when you create those lineups, Andrew, will I see a numerical ranking of those lineups? So whatever metric you use, like if I were to, you know, create this metric, the lineups that are in your pool will stay in your pool, and then they will be ranked accordingly. So you should see like a new rank for those lineups, basically. So, you know, if I scroll back to the top, so I created my metric. Now I'm going to go to my metric and I'm going to use it. And then the lineups will like shift around based on the metric that I am now using to sort. You can name these, you know, if I want to say like upside plus low own, maybe would make sense to me. Save it as that because you can have all of these different metrics here, which this was like one that I was messing around with. If you don't want it anymore, you could trash it. And then I'm going to go back to the upside plus low own. The lineups will get re-ranked here. And then you can see, I don't know what this value represents here. That is a good question for me to take back to the team. Like, what does this value represent? I'm sure it's going to represent different things for different sets of lineups. It might be something that I'm unaware of. So let me make a note here. So like, what are values representing custom lineup sorting? And that's a good question. I mean, I'm sure it's useful in some way. So I'll ask that question, and then we could talk about that as well on Wednesday. But yeah, lineups will get resorted based on your metric, and you can see that happening live. Okay, got this question here from John in the Discord. It looks like 2 questions, so I'm just going to go one at a time here. And John said, feel like overall I've been able to find the higher performing players for NFL, but still haven't profited in GPPs the last couple weeks, which is expected most weeks anyways. Basically, I feel like I'm spending most of my time getting exposures how I want and not much time looking at the individual lineups themselves. I feel like SaberSim does a great job making all the lineups competitive. So it's probably more so just not getting all the pieces to line up in a single build. My main question would be, is there anything you tend to do or look for with your 150 plus NFL MME after your exposures look generally how you want? Okay, so gonna address this first part first. There was some discussion that was like pretty interesting in the support channel that was going on. And basically somebody said something along the lines of like trying to be patient and not expecting big hits every week by any means, but hate being negative every single week. And Jordan kind of like had a really good response to this. So I just want to like scroll back through this really quickly. So Jordan said, we ran a pretty rigorous contest simulation experiment this summer and found that even with a positive long-term ROI, if you play DFS every single day of the month, you should only expect to have about 6 profitable days a month. That's not even talking about having a top 1% finish or a bink. That's literally just being in the green for a slate. With only 18 NFL main slates a season, that extrapolates to basically having 3 profitable slates a season. If you're interested in that research, you can find a video where Jordan interviewed Eric. He just kind of goes on to like provide the link for that video. So thinking about that myself, it's like, wow, that really kind of brings things full circle because, if you're only expected to have 6 profitable days in a calendar month and you're playing every single day, when you take that over to NFL where you're only playing, the main slate is only once a week, then you're in an entire season, on average for a winning player expected to have a positive long-term ROI is only going to profit 3 weeks out of the entire 18-week season, which is like pretty like kind of mind-blowing when you think about it right off the bat. But I think in the end, it really like kind of brings things into perspective, for myself, for others in community. I know the person that asked this question got a lot out of it. And that's why like bankroll management is so important. Contest selection is so important. The person that asked this kind of followed up with like, hey, what does your contest selection look like? And I said, it's better to play the early slate, the afternoon slate, and the main slate and get as much action under the $3 threshold where the Sharks can't play. That way you get more action in better contests, because that's the goal. It's like the old poker saying, you can be the best, you can be the 10th best poker player in the world, but if you're sitting at the table with the other 9, like you're gonna lose and you're gonna go broke. So finding those contests where the giant squids can't play, where the Max Steinbergs can't play, and getting as much action down in that range while you still have access to those contests is ultimately the best thing that you can do by far. So I would encourage people to get as much action under those thresholds as possible across slates, across sites, DraftKings, FanDuel. I don't know if Yahoo has something like that. I know they have like the veteran and super veteran, but I don't think they have like contest limits to that extent, but I could be wrong there. So just some like general thoughts there on, kind of the expectation in NFL on profiting over a season. I think that, you're going to have like those three-ish slates a season where, those weeks are going to pay for your entire season, hopefully, and you have those big wins. So stay patient, keep working hard each and every week. And, going back to your question, is there anything specific I'm looking for? I mean, there's no like kind of secret sauce for me. I would say, get to the players you want, be comfortable taking stands. I think something that I like to think about often is that, as we can see, the expectation is for you to lose most weeks. So don't be afraid to take stands and be wrong, because there's going to be that one time where you take a stand and you're right. And that is going to be the time where it pays off. So, a stand that I took this weekend, for instance, was TJ Hawkinson. I thought Hawkinson was kind of projected low across the industry. And I thought that I saw some like coaches quotes and interviews saying that Hawkinson was going to be a key part of the Vikings game plan. He ended up doing much better than his projection, but I still didn't get there. At the end of the day, it's like, I had a good take. Do you have anything to show for it? And I didn't have enough of Justin Fields and some of these other guys, but it happens, and you keep moving and you learn. I would just say, don't be afraid to take a stand, because it's better to say, well, I took a stand, I had a thought and I was wrong, as opposed to kicking yourself and saying, I knew like I saw something there, why didn't I do it? And imagining what could have been. So I think it's always okay to take a stand and be wrong. And I know like Big T, for Run Pure Sports, one of our partners, was kind of saying the same thing. It's like, hey, we give takes all the time, and sometimes we're wrong, and that's okay. And you move on to the next slate. And I think that is the right attitude to have in your process. So kind of rambling a little bit, John, but just wanted to give you like I just want to give you guys like good answers, best I can think about it. So sometimes I end up rambling. But John had a second question here, and I'm going to touch on this as well. So said, our current plan doesn't end until the start of next month. Is there a way to upgrade to the new plan and pay the difference or something? Or do we just have to wait until next month? I'm using the week trial for the pro plan this week. Okay, so if you want to upgrade to the pro plan, and so everyone has a pro plan trial. If you come in here to your account and you are on the standard plan and you hit like, upgrade to SaberSim Pro, and we are automatically going to apply a 7-day free trial to you. And then the trial is set to expire after 7 days. After 7 days, you can go back and you can upgrade right away. I am not sure exactly what like the payment process looks like, but I know you do not have to wait. We will take care of you guys. I'm not sure exactly how it works with like prorating and then starting a new plan. If you have questions about that, just shoot an email to support@sabersim.com, or you can even come into the settings, hit report a problem. It's not technically a problem, but you can just ask a question like, hey, I want to upgrade to SaberSim Pro, but I'm on the SaberSim Advanced. Do I have to wait? Just something along those lines, and the team will get back to you. So 2 methods of communication with the support team there for you. Just ask the team. They'll be able to explain exactly how the upgrade will work and make sure that you get access to the 5,000 lineups and all of the awesome features that come without having to wait. So take advantage of those options there. Let's see. I saw a follow-up here from Nipsey. Nipsey just said, talking about the upgrade, the lineup sorting combo and what this value means. Just said, yes, please, that would be great. And are the weights based off a value of 10, example, or 100? So Nipsey, the weights are whatever you kind of standardize it to. So like in this example, I standardized it to 1, which I went in like, 0.75 and 0.25. I also did the option of like where you can make upside worth 3 times as much as ownership. So there's not a standard off the bat. You kind of make it, which is why you see like the formula up here. And then when we apply, so like right now they're equal, and then I could make, you know, percentile 3 times as much plus ownership. So there's no right or wrong there. You kind of do what you want with that and kind of standardize it yourself. But, you know, getting back to this part, I will get an answer to that. And then looks like there was some back and forth here between Chuck and Nipsey. Not going to be able to read through all of this at the moment, but if there's anything I see, I will comment on it after the stream. Got this last question here in Discord from Big B8, and then we are going to be jumping over to the YouTube chat. Question says, if I set projections or exposures on the home screen for tonight's NBA main slate, is there an option to push those settings to a turbo slate for NBA rather than having to do them over? I put the same question in YouTube chat, not sure which is the preferred method. So good question here. I believe if you come over here to upload, you can hit this apply to all slates. So all you have to do is just toggle this on when you go to upload, and then it will find those players in all of the turbos and night slates and then apply that projection to them there. So just toggle this on and you should be all set. So that's how you do that. Quick one there. Happy to get to it. And then going to be jumping over to YouTube chat. Looks like we got a lot more questions to go, everybody. Happy to see all of the live viewership. So let's see here. Got a question from LEGNA187. Said, is there a specific video I can watch and take notes on for late swapping? What I encounter sometimes is that when I late swap, my lineups look worse and I end up getting less exposures on guys I want. I end up scrambling and get less than desired lineups. Okay, so happy to talk about late swap here. So I would say, you know, when you are late swapping, if you, especially like tonight is like the prime example, like late swap is going to be needed. You know, news is going to break, especially with the way lineups come out so late. So, you know, let's say maybe like you're on a couple players and one of them is Nikola Jokic and you want to make sure that you get exposure to him. So you build your lineups the first time around and you put some exposure to him in the post build screen. But then when late swap kind of goes and runs, you don't get to as much as him as you want. What I would do is write down every player where you know, like you want exposure to, and then put those in the home screen under this min exposure. Don't do this before the slate. Do this after the slate locks. So once slate locks, lineups are in, games are started, that's when the late swap will automatically be toggled on. Then I would come in here, put in your min exposures. Now, every time you run a late swap is going to have to honor the min exposures you set. So that is the best way of maintaining exposure in the late swap process. And just rereading through this question. So it looks like that's like the biggest concern here. You know, my lineups look worse and I end up getting less exposures on guys I want. So, you know, if you want to maintain the exposures to the guys you want, just set those in the home screen before you do a late swap. That's my best advice there. If you're looking for like late swap help or documentation, if you go into the settings and you go to help, you're going to get a pop-up here, going to take you to our support docs, which look like this. And this is sabersim.com/support. If you scroll down, you're going to see this tutorial, how to late swap. If you're like aware and of how to late swap, you know, you can also go to like the frequently asked questions, hit this view more, and then all you do is just type in late swap at the top, and you're going to get a bunch of different articles we do, like how to late swap, when should I late swap, should I late swap my contest separately or all at once? So it's, you know, kind of tutorials, kind of strategy, you know, should I change my settings, like different approaches to late swap overall. And, you know, the list goes on. So I would just come into our support docs, type in late swap and see if we are able to answer any of those specific questions that you have there. Another option, which is another really good option, is go over to our YouTube channel and go over to videos. In here, you could just come into the top search bar, type in late swap. All of our past videos are time stamped. So, how SaberSim's entry editor with late swap works. Looks like this is an older one. How to late swap in MLB DFS. So, like, you could probably scroll through here, find a lot of really good past videos about how to late swap. And just as like a general reminder, if you go over to our playlists and you go over to office hours, so all of our past office hours videos are timestamped. If you were to click into any of these, every single time we change topics, there is a different timestamp. So you can click into any of these and see what the topics were. That way you could just listen to the nuggets that you came to listen to, or try and find advice on the topics that you are having trouble with. So that's my advice there on late swap. But the home min exposures tab is definitely going to be the best thing for you, in my opinion. So going to keep rolling here. Jimmy VB has a question that says, NHL question, I like to mix full strength lines, 2 to 3 skaters, along with power play stacks, including D-men. What would be the best way to construct these rules? I use the no more than rule, but was removed. Thoughts? Okay, so what I would do is, if I were to go over to NHL, I think there's a big NHL slate tomorrow with NBA taking the night off. So that should be really interesting. One of the only times of the year we get 100K up top in the NHL street. So that should be fun. But that being said, coming back to this rule. So I like to mix full strength lines along with power play stacks, including a defenseman. What would be the best way to construct these rules? So what I would do is I would come in here and I would use a stacking rule. And I would say, at least 2, right? Because that's what you're saying, include a defenseman. And then I would say, must be on the same. And then I would say, even strength or power play, or, you could like just do like power play in this instance. So, and then, we could like always determine which lines you want them to be from. We could uncheck, power play 2, and then we could uncheck even strength line 4. But what I would do is that, if you're using like the basic stack rules and this isn't working for you, what you could also do is use a group rule. And then I would use like a advanced probably. And I would say group by team. No, because then you can't control what lines they're on. So I think the best thing to do is to do a group manual and then use like an if then. So like if at least 3 or if at least 2, and then you go to a team, right? So we'll go to Boston, and then you could like group these guys by lines, right? So like let's say I'm going to put, if I have at least 2 of power play 1, if like you want to do this for like a specific team, then use at least 2 from like even strength 1. And I could see how like this could be really tedious. So let me kind of take this back to the team, see if we could come up with a better recommendation for you, because I don't want you to have to come in here and set like a million different manual stacking rules. But I will follow up on this one at the beginning of tomorrow's stream. I'll take this back to some of our NHL experts and see what we can come up with there. So for those of you who don't know, not a secret anymore. Mr. Clean, our resident NHL expert, has officially joined the SaberSim team. You can see him in the Discord as Scott-SaberSim, still around to answer any and all NHL related questions. So that's who I'm going to take this one to, get you guys a nice solid answer on this. But really good question, Jimmy VB. Going to take a quick screenshot here and make sure I capture that. But I will get back to you guys at the beginning of tomorrow's stream on what we think the best way to accomplish this goal is. All right. Got a question here from Josh Lake. Josh said, Any way to transfer your game and player projections between game slates. I'm finding it very time consuming to keep putting in same projections for the same group of games. So Josh, what I would do is use the feature that we just talked about a little bit ago. If you are going to this upload player projections, you can hit apply to all slates. If you are making manual changes on the page, what you can do is you can hit, I believe you could do this. You could hit download, and then that'll take the like, especially like the my projection column that you used, and then you can I don't know if you could do that, because I think the player IDs would be different on a different slate. So if you're using custom projections, what you can do is hit this apply to all slates. I think if you're manually going in and changing a couple players, I think that you will have to continue to manually adjust those specific players if they are on the turbo, if they are on the night. I don't think there's a way to manually make projections and apply to all slates. I think if you want to do that, then you would have to do it only in a CSV format. But I think it's mostly because the players have different player IDs across slates, is my understanding there. So going to keep moving here. Got a question from Aaron. Aaron said, hey, Andrew, when I was building using my limited player pool, I unchecked everyone I didn't want. Every time I switched from DK to FanDuel, it kept adding back players I had previously unchecked. Okay, so the only things that I do know about this is that if you uncheck a player and then you use the red reset icon, so the red reset icon will add the players back into your player pool. So if you did anything like this, you will now see that Joel Embiid and Jason Tatum are now checked back in. So that's the only like caution I would give you. And this is like a newer thing too, is that, you know, sometimes people have failed builds. Sometimes people are having trouble generating lineups. This red reset icon will get rid of your filters. It will uncheck any rules you have set. It will reset your player pool back to the default. It is like a true like start from scratch in order to be able to generate lineups. But if that's not the case, I just wanted to point that out. I would send a message. What I would do is, like, if you're having an issue with it and you're noticing it coming up like right recently in your session, just use the report a problem link and then just say, you know, player pool keeps resetting. This will give us a lot of data about your session and allow us to figure out what is the problem. So sorry you're running into that issue, Aaron. If you are continuing to see it, if you see it again, use a report a problem. Helps us out a lot. Helps us to get rid of those pesky bugs that just keep coming up. So apologies there. If you could do that for me, that would be awesome. All right. Question here from Brian. Brian said, if I set projections or exposure on the home screen for tonight's NBA main slate, is there an option to push those settings to a turbo for NBA rather than having to do them over? Okay, so the answer is no. But see, what I think you can do, and I might be wrong, but I also might be right. So what you can do is you can set the exposures, right? So like maybe we could do a quick demo. So Giannis, I'm gonna set to 15 min exposure. Luka, I'm gonna set to 15. And, you know, maybe I want to push this to one of the turbos or nights. So what I can do is I can hit this download, and I'm just going to try this. So we'll try this since it's come up a couple times. So I can come over here. I'm just going to pull up my screen. I'm going to open up this CSV. So when I open this up, their min exposure should be 15 here. Okay. So we see like we're getting the exposure we want in the CSV. What I think you can do is you're gonna save this wherever you save it, and then you're gonna go to another slate like the turbo. So let's see if either of these teams are on. If we can find a slate where these teams are on. Okay, so I have Milwaukee. So what I could do is I could go to upload, and then I think what you would have to do is probably just copy and paste the data fields you want. So what I could say is, you know, if Giannis is on this, so one, you could highlight all the columns, and then you can hit Control C, and then go to upload, and then Control V, paste it in here. It's going to see all of these guys that aren't on here. So I would hit ignore all, and then it will just find the guys that are on the slate. And then you would just make sure that this is matched to name. That way it'll catch Giannis. And then you could make sure like that min exposure is caught as well. I would leave all of these other fields that you don't want to upload blank. Maybe you made projection adjustments and you want the projections, but for this example, we're only using the min exposure. So I have names checked, and then I have min exposure checked. So what it will do is only upload the min exposure for Giannis, and then you just have to make sure that these fields are correct. So like this looks like it didn't capture it because it was 15, but I'm pretty sure if you mess around with this enough, you can figure it out because it looks like it pulled in value. So I could just probably, I could probably highlight the whole thing and then go to upload, bring this in here. I'm just going to ignore all, and I'm going to uncheck DFS ID in case the ID is different, but you can just use the name field and then just use the min exposure, which we're just going to change these, turn these off. And then it looks like our min exposure is in this column for whatever reason. So then I would just change this column to min exposure. And then if you do that, you should be able to get what you want. But that's the only way I can think to do it. So it's kind of funky, but it should work. So apologies for the long demo there, but those are one of the only ways I could think to do it at the moment. So as long as you like have your data in a CSV file, you can apply to all slates is the key takeaway there. All right. Aaron said, why is it the communities are always to play where sharks can't rather than us ever being able to play as good as them? What do they know that we don't ever seem to? So Aaron, it goes back to our poker example, man. So the if you're the 10th best player in the world and you're sitting at the table with the other 9, you're probably gonna go broke. So that's where it's at. Unfortunately, I'm in the same boat, trying to get as much action in the best contest as I possibly can. So I would say don't ever be ashamed of that. We'll take the money wherever we can get it. But question here from Chance said, all right, Chance said, are you not going to answer my question of why y'all went up $40 to add one thing and go up $40? Doesn't make sense. Okay, so let's talk about it. So, we have the new feature. Previously, you could build 1,500 lineups. Now you can build 5,000 lineups. Other things you can do in here are you can upload and aggregate projections. I'm using SaberSim's projections. You could upload projections from other sources. You could weight that. We have the custom lineup sorting metrics that we just talked about. So, all of these awesome features, are what we are adding for the pro plan. I would say that, if you're not comfortable with the price upgrade, there's nothing wrong with staying at the previous advanced plan. Any users that were already on the advanced plan are still going to be able to build the 1,500 lineups. The 500 lineups is only for new people on the plan. So if you are already on the plan, you are grandfathered in automatically. We added these awesome percentiles to the regular plans, and no price change up there, but we just feel like the addition of the custom data and the ability to build 3 times as many lineups, actually a little more than that, and the ability to aggregate sources and all of these new features are what we are valuing at this $40 price increase. I think it's a great value, especially for being able to build more lineups, being able to see more of the sim outputs. But if you are uncomfortable with that, I understand, and there's nothing wrong with staying at the advanced plan. Okay, got a question here from DJ Sirius. Long question. Sorry ahead of time. I know any optimizer is simply a tool to guide you. What I still cannot figure out is a basic strategy for finding value. For example, in yesterday's NBA continued, C. Coloco was 3,600 and scored 34.25 and did not appear in any of my 20 max lineups. What could I have seen in my previous lineups to help me spot this? Hope that makes sense. So yes, it makes sense. And I'm not sure what the slate context was yesterday. I did not play basketball. I believe Coloco is on the Toronto Raptors. And I know that Fred VanVleet has been out a couple of games in the last week. And I think he started in his place for one of those times. So if like you're looking for value plays, right? What I would say is that you can always come into the app and sort by value. You'll be able to see, who are the players that are kind of popping here. Looks like Kendrick Nunn, really good value. I say anything that like is a value above 6, you can kind of start saying like, okay, what's going on here? Is somebody out? Is somebody getting a start for the first time? And something I like to do is, kind of come in here, sort by value, and then go and look at these players. It's a handful of players. We're looking at about like 6 or 7 guys here, and you kind of see why they're popping. Like, is this a guy, a great player off the bench? Is he starting for somebody that's injured? Is the team resting? I think that's a really good way to kind of try and understand the slate context and see where the value plays are. I think the last time I played basketball, DFS was when the Warriors were sitting 4 out of their 5 starters. I would, that was something where you saw like Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, and all of these guys like really, really good values. And, it leads you to ask, why? And then that takes you down the research path for the slate. So I think that, trying to understand where the value is, how much value is on the slate, what teams the value is on can kind of lead you in the right direction and be a good first step for trying to identify where value plays could be on the slate. And maybe you write these players down and you're not getting all of them in your lineups. Maybe you're only getting 4 of them more than the other 3. And maybe you say, I want to treat all the value plays in a nutshell and kind of get some exposure to all of them. Maybe that is an option for you in the post build phase to say, hey, I'm not getting any prints. Let me just get at least like 10% of this guy. And rather than get a ton of either none or man, maybe spread that out in case one of them fails. I think you could do something like that. So I would say it just kind of goes back to like slate research. I think sorting by value is an awesome option. I think sorting by ownership, trying to see, where the chalk is going to be, is another really good option as well. So just a couple tips for you there, DJ Sirius. Hope that helps you out. Got a question here from Jamie VB. Would an advanced stack rule work maybe like for power play if you set CWD 2-1? So Jimmy, I've seen you in the Discord before. Let me get back to the team on the NHL, and I can try and get you an answer before the end of the day. I will search for you in the Discord and see if I can just at you in a message in Discord and see what I could come up with. So let me just, make a note. Jimmy VB NHL question, and let me do some research after the stream for you on that. But want to get you a good answer there. So okay. So thank you. You're welcome. Aaron, cheers, my man. And DJ Sirius said VanVleet for what it's worth played yesterday. Okay. So I know like the other day, like Boucher had a really good game. He got like 37 points and VanVleet was out. So Toronto's been kind of a mixed bag. They run like a pretty tight rotation, like 7 to 8 players most days. So you never know where those extra minutes are going to come in or how the rotations are going to change. I think an awesome tool to use to be able to look at some of those things is something that Max Steinberg has called out multiple times, is this awesome website called Popcorn Machine. You can go into this game flow and you can see how players kind of rotated. So it looks like Siakam probably sat yesterday, which is where some of this came from. So it looks like Coloco got the start with Siakam out. I don't know if he was resting or if he was injured, but I would say, you can kind of like do a deep dive on Popcorn Machine, but I think a better place to start is just in the SaberSim app, sorting by value. And then, from here, we can go and look at the Lakers and then kind of see what is happening with them. So, LeBron's out tonight. That's why, Kendrick Nunn is popping. That's why Juan Toscano Anderson has a value over 6. So you kind of, start piecing some things together, making the story make sense as to why certain players are value. I'd say, like, if you try and make a story and the value doesn't make sense, I think that is a cautionary tale and something that you say, hey, maybe this guy isn't worth the value and maybe he's being overvalued. But just some general NBA thoughts for you there. So that being said, everybody, that was the last question. Make sure to tune in Wednesday for the Pro Plan stream with Matt and possibly Andy. I see another question here from DJ Sirius. Get to this. Do you guys offer or know any trustworthy sites that can provide live one-on-one coaching for building lineups? Would gladly pay a monthly subscription for something like this. So DJ Sirius, coaching is something we've talked about. I think for the time being, office hours is our closest approach to coaching at the moment. I'm here to answer your guys' questions, to give you guys strategy advice. When I don't know, or when I feel like I don't have a good answer, like the Jimmy VB question, I am going to take it back to the team, to people who have better opinions on these things, who are specific sport sharks, and will get you guys a good answer. So any question you ask, I am going to give you the best possible answer I can. If I can't give you one that I feel is worthy of sharing, I'm going to go find one for you. So continue to ask your questions in this stream. I will do my best. And the advice we give you guys is, something that we really don't give lightly. And we want to help everybody in the community get better and win more at DFS. So, okay. John said he has a question in the Discord. Sorry, I missed it, John. Happy that you threw that in there. Gonna hit this. John said, how often do you let the pool exposure guide your lineup exposures? Feel like when there is a large gap, I tend to use the pool exposure as a guide, but wondering if it's possible I'm limiting players too much. Even with a high sim diversity, there are times where a player might show up in 65% of lineups, but only like 25% in the pool. For example, has SaberSim done any research onto what playing just the optimal pool exposure looks like for ROI over time? Okay, so John, really good question here. What I would say is that I tend to factor in pool exposure into my builds. So something that I like to do is look at pool exposure versus my own exposure versus ownership. So like, this is a really interesting case here. I don't know. I ran this build probably about over an hour ago. I don't know when the LeBron news came out, but pretty interesting that Kendrick Nunn is only in 15% of my pool, while being in almost 3 times his ownership in the 50 lineups that I am looking at. So, that's kind of like a caution for me as to, like, should I be a little more cautious with this player and kind of dial back the exposure there? I think that, you have to remember that the SaberSim builder does not understand risk management, and it is up to you to make those risk profile decisions that will kind of protect your investment, because SaberSim is just optimizing for the highest ROI depending on whatever metric you're sorting by. And it could be like this because we are using the upside plus low own metric that we talked about earlier. I'd be interested to see what the exposures kind of came in at if we were to sort by something like 95th percentile, and right off the bat, Nunn kind of disappears, and now we're getting no Kendrick Nunn. So I think this is a combination of projections updating. We're really early in the day, news is breaking, and we're trying out all of these different lineup sorting metrics. But I mean, this is a great example of what a custom metric can do. It can give you a ton of a player that you might not be getting if you sorted with a different standard feature. So, when we sort by Saber score, we're about even with the field. So I would say just like exercise caution using these new lineup sorting metrics. test them out, try different ones. We can see how much of an impact that has on a single individual value player by sorting by 3 different metrics. So I think, exercise caution when doing these things. At the end of the day, if you're unsure about how to use the new lineup sorting metrics, continue to use SaberScore. It is the safest one to use and the one that we auto sort by for good reason. All of these new ones are like more experimental, I would call them. And I think that we have the most faith in the SaberScore algorithm overall. So really cool, like to kind of see that live on stream and see what all the different lineup sorting metrics do to one individual player and how differently they can treat him. So that being said, I don't see any more questions here. So we will be right back here tomorrow. Good luck on the crazy NBA slate. Hope you are ready to dip your toes into the NHL streets tomorrow with no NBA. Good luck in all your contests. If you guys ever need anything, the team is always around in Discord, in support, etc. So that being said, good luck in your contest, and I will see you tomorrow.